So, welcome to the next edition of the Rare Business Podcast. With me today, I have Ian Siegel, who is founder and CEO, no less, of ZipRecruiter. Hi, Ian. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So, Ian, for the benefit of our listeners and readers, can you tell us a bit about you and a bit about the work that you do?
Sure. So I am the founder and CEO of ZipRecruiter. Our company is about 6 years old. We spent the first 4.5 years of the company's life bootstrapping the business. And then in August of last year, we were able to raise $63 million in a Series A and have now become the largest provider of HR solutions to small businesses in the United States.
Wow, that's fantastic. I mean, and I also kind of heard that the $63 million fundraising round is probably the largest Series A ever in Los Angeles. Is that right?
It has been rumored to be. I haven't done the research to 100% confirm the truth of it, but it's definitely in the running.
Well, congratulations on that. That's a big sort of, well, I think it's a big achievement, but I guess it also comes with its own pressures as well.
It certainly does. I mean, we had relatively humble aspirations when we first started the business. It's myself and three co-founders, and all of us had spent our entire careers building startups in the Los Angeles area. And when we did ZipRecruiter, we felt like we were going to define success differently than we had been defining success at all the VC-backed companies we'd been at previously, which is why we chose to bootstrap. And, we were measuring quality of life as more important than quantity of revenue.
Nice.
And then things kind of just got a little out of hand.
Excellent.
Things went really, really well. So.
Excellent. Now, Ian, the thing that I'm really interested in, and the thing that I write about and sort of talk to lots of people about, kind of here on the blog and as part of these podcast interviews, is all about the power of and the delivery of great sort of customer service. And given that I know a bit about your background of the company at ZipRecruiter, but what I'm really interested to understand a bit more about is that for several years, apparently you were the only customer service representative at ZipRecruiter and personally handled every request, email, and call from customers. I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, but my question is, that's not necessarily normal. So why did you do it?
Yeah, well, so for the first year and a half that we were in business, It was literally just the four co-founders, and we would work at the proverbial kitchen table, but in our case, it was literally at the kitchen table.
Right.
And we would rotate between each other's houses, and I would take every customer support call, every email, every chat, and in addition to all the other things I was doing for the business, I was the face of the business to our customers. And I actually had a first-name basis relationship with probably the first 1,000 employers who used ZipRecruiter. And the reason for that was, one, necessity. So we were bootstrapped. So we had very small amounts of money to invest in marketing. Therefore, every customer was precious to us.
Right.
And number two, it turned out that talking to customers was the best way to learn what we should be doing as versus what we had already built. And it ended up being the signpost guide, if you will, to our product roadmap. Right. Customers are actually great at telling you what you need to do next, not necessarily by giving you direct product insights, but more by explaining to you the things that they are frustrated with.
Right.
It's a really interesting way to look at your business. And we actually very quickly made it a goal to try to reduce customer service calls to zero. We thought if we could have a business that was so easy to use and worked so well that no one ever had to call us, that was a perfect business.
Absolutely. And so do you still spend time dealing with customers and handling service inquiries?
The truth about ZipRecruiter is we've gone from four co-founders sitting at a kitchen table to just under 300 full-time employees, 50 of whom are customer service reps.
All right.
And we now handle tens of thousands of active customers at any given time. And so I do still do two things, which is every time we bring in a new class of customer support rep trainees,
Yeah.
I sit down with them and tell the story of how we built the business and what I want their approach to the job to be.
Uh-huh.
And then number two, we do a lot of quantitative calculation of what is driving the most customer service calls. So what are the issues that repeatedly require us to talk to somebody on the phone or answer an email? And we still use that approach to determining what are the next things we need to do to improve our product.
Right. Okay. I mean, I understand kind of how things kind of grow, and you're still in kind of evolve. But I guess also what I'm really interested in is that there is how you've established, when you've been bootstrapping, you've established how you want to kind of run the company, and then you spend time with every new sort of customer service advisor that comes into the company. But is there? I'm interested in what else you've done to establish and preserve that culture of delivering great service. I mean, is it all about training, induction, and recruitment, or is there other things?
No, you know what really distinguishes our customer service organization from probably a lot of the other companies in the HR field, which is, I think that the traditional approach to customer service is to make the people who are answering questions experts on your product. And
Right.
we certainly do that. We certainly give them ample training on how to use our product and how to get the most value out of it. But where I think we go above and beyond is two things. Number one, we make sure that our reps are experts on the industry as a whole.
Right.
So we inform them not just about our business, but about every business in the industry, so that when they're talking to a customer, if a customer references either another product or another service they're using, our reps are familiar with it and can speak to it as experts. And then the other thing we've made a general rule is the tone and approach, which is we've told our customer service team, and we've even told our sales team, that they are consultants, not sales reps,
Right.
and that their job is to get the best possible outcome for the customer, regardless of whether that means we make more or less money.
Right. Okay.
And that approach is a partnership approach, which we evolved from. We were ourselves a very small business, and we had to deal with a lot of external vendors. And I remember my frustration when I felt like the vendor I was dealing with didn't care about how small or fragile my business was or how dependent I was on their service. And I never wanted to be that vendor.
Right. Okay. That's a real kind of like personal experiences driving the company philosophy, as it were.
That's correct.
Okay. And so, here's the interesting thing: you're in recruitment, you're in HR, but you're also sort of a technology kind of business. And technology's been changing kind of so fast over the last kind of few years. I mean, have you found from the point of inception of the business to kind of where you are kind of now, I mean, has customer service kind of changed and how you deliver it? Has it changed?
I mean, I think this has been experienced by every business in the technology sector, not specifically just our business.
Mm-hmm.
But the number of ways that you can interact with a customer has increased so greatly. So, back when I worked at the first internet company I ever worked for, all we did was email support.
Right.
And now we do email support and phone support and chat support. And we even have people reaching out to us on social networks now, like Twitter or via our Facebook page or our LinkedIn page. And so we end up dealing with customer conversations, not necessarily complaints. Sometimes they're compliments.
Yeah.
But we deal with these customer conversations in a very public forum where people can see how we comport ourselves and how we respond.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important in today's day and age to train not just on the product and the industry, but also the tone and the approach.
Yeah.
Because everything you do can be reviewed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because I think what I really like. I mean, I think that's true, and there has been an explosion of channels. But what I really like is the fact that it's not just about the product; it's about the industry. So when a customer calls you, then you can have you're training your people, your consultants, as it were, to be. It's almost as if they're talking the customer feels like they're talking to a peer, and a peer that understands some of the issues that they're going through, because it's not just about the product, it's about the industry. So I can see how that would make a real difference to the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people want to be in the hands of someone who is more of an expert than they are.
Yeah.
So that's what we try to provide. So what we try to give our reps is enough knowledge that they can quickly establish credibility with whoever they're talking to, that they really know what they're talking about, because that makes all the subsequent conversations about how to get the best value out of our product more believable.
Absolutely. So if I was to ask you kind of over the last, since inception to where you are kind of like now, I mean, what would be the, if somebody was in a similar position to you, going on on their kind of journey, I was to ask you, what are the big sort of lessons you've learned, or what the big tips that you would give to them? What would you say?
Oh wow, I have so many. I mean, it really is. It is a funny thing that there is a lot of overlap between the right way to run a business, particularly a startup, and trying to eliminate customer service calls. And there's a couple of different ways that manifests. So when I was talking to customers, we didn't have office hours initially.
Right.
So people were calling me 7 days a week in every time zone, and even in some cases internationally.
Right.
So they really were calling me in the middle of the night. And I was just so eager to build the business that I was taking every call, I was talking to every customer. And I think I'm not the first to say this, but what I quickly discovered was there was about 5% of our customer base that was really difficult to please. That this was a group of people that would take an extraordinary amount of my time, and no matter how much work I personally did for them, and no matter how much education I provided, they were dissatisfied. And what I realized after about 6 months of this, as I was burning out, is that the answer was not to try to satisfy those customers.
Right.
The answer was instead to, and I hate this term because it sounds harsher than the way I would actually say it, but the answer was to fire these customers.
Right.
And the way we did it was fairly elegant, which is we said, hey, we have a 100% money-back guarantee. As a small business, we simply couldn't afford for so much of my time to be taken up by such a small number of customers. It was easier to just give them their money back. And I quickly became astute at establishing which customers warranted that level of interaction and which ones were just going to endlessly be dissatisfied. So that's one aspect of it.
Okay.
And then the other aspect of it is how quickly can you solve a problem? Meaning that we had this fascinating number one most common customer service call during our first year. And that call is very simply, to explain what that is, I have to first tell you what our business does. I don't think I've done that.
Okay.
So ZipRecruiter, in its simplest possible description, lets you post a job to over 100 job sites with one submission. And then all the candidates come into one list. That's what we do.
Right.
We're super distribution for a job ad, right?
Yeah.
And the number one question we would get is, did you really put my job on all those different job boards you said you would? And the reason they were asking is because when they looked at the candidates that were coming in, they would see the source that provided that candidate. And if they didn't see a candidate from every job board we listed, they then became curious or potentially incredulous that we had really done the distribution we promised.
Right.
So when we were kicking around ideas about how we would solve this problem and coming up with these complex spidering technologies that would go find the jobs at all the different sites and send them a report so that they kept confidence their job went everywhere, one of my partners turned and looked at me and he said, how about we just stop showing the source?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, by removing something from our product, it completely eliminated the number one source of customer service contact. And so one of the lessons, in addition to firing your customers, is if you have something in your product that is causing problems or confusion for your customers, the solution is not always to enhance it. Sometimes, and often, surprisingly often, the answer is to actually remove it. just get rid of it. Literally take it out. Freedom, fun choice.
Well,
the phrase we use around here.
It's fascinating how a little bit of information can make a lot of people dangerous.
That's right. And actually, we talk about this all the time, which is when you build a product, because now our product has been used by literally hundreds of thousands of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have that number of customers, what's actually really important is that your product be as easy to use as possible.
Yeah.
So while we have many feature ideas we could add that for the top 10% of users on our product would make them a lot happier, we are hesitant to add any possible complexity to our product because fundamentally customers come for one reason and one reason only, and that's to get their job in as many places as possible and then to have all the candidates come into one list. All the rest is window dressing. Understanding what your business does at its core is one of the most important lessons for a young business to learn.
Excellent. That's a really, really simple, pardon the expression, but a very powerful kind of lesson. Is like, yeah, learn what you are and don't mess with it really, in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's correct.
So now you've I know that you've got, as you say, you've got hundreds of thousands of customers, which include big firms like Netflix and PayPal and Wells Fargo and all that. And you've just done this big sort of like funding round. So what's your plans for the rest of 2015 and beyond, apart from world domination, of course?
I think we found our place in the market through this philosophy of taking something that was complex, which was the process of posting to many different job boards,
sure,
and then making it easy. Really, fundamentally, we are a convenience tool. We make something that was hard simple.
Yeah.
And it turns out there are actually, in particular, small and medium-sized business, so let's say businesses with like 200 to 500 employees.
Yeah.
There are a lot of these problems.
Yeah.
How do I get how do I get an employee onboarded to my business is one. Like, I know the one I want to hire. How do I get them to sign an offer letter, fill out their W-4 or their I-9? How do I get them to confirm they've received the handbook? There's a bunch of stuff you got to do.
Yeah.
And we have been experimenting with making all of that really easy as well, and the response has been overwhelming.
Fantastic.
I mean, our customers, unsurprisingly, are appreciating our extension of the functionality of our service beyond just finding the candidate and getting deeper into the next HR problem that exists for them after that occurs. And so I think our future is going to be that for small and medium-sized businesses, we are going to become an all-included one-stop shop HR software that lets them manage their whole business through one application.
Wow, that's amazing. That's fantastic. And that means you've still got a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of work to do. Yeah.
That's excellent. I mean, Ian, that's a great story, and I love the fact that you've bootstrapped it, and through your experience of bootstrapping it, it's helped you define this very solid and very sustainable sort of like almost service kind of culture and philosophy. And so I think it's brilliant, and I congratulate you on your growth and your success, and long may it continue. But I have one question that I always kind of like to end these interviews on, and it's this: is there anything that you'd like to shamelessly plug?
I think we covered it. We did a good job. We covered it. Yeah, if you have a job and you want to post it to over 100 job sites at once, you should come to ZipRecruiter. We make that as easy and fast as possible. We'll give you the most candidates possible in the shortest period of time.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for your time today and sharing a bit of your story and your insights. We'll make sure we get all that edited up and linked up and give you a big sort of shout out on the blog. But Ian, thanks again for sharing your story.
Excellent. Thank you.